Do you know something that I don't know this morning? Put it in the comments below. I mean, it's pretty much all good news this morning, and yet the techs and Tesla are down this morning in early goings. Now, I'm not sure that's what we're going to see when the day is finally in the books. But after a big run up the past 4 days, the NASDAQ, the tech stocks, and Tesla, they just might be looking for a breather. We got a big day tomorrow. That number tomorrow on the PCE, that's going to be way bigger than anything that's happening today. And then, of course, we have the jobs numbers on Friday. So after 4 days of big run-ups and Tesla's huge run-up yesterday, not a shock to have a breather. Now, I know I ended yesterday's, when was that? Yesterday nights? I can't remember. One of the programs I did yesterday, I ended by saying, hey, if it ends on the highs, then you can usually expect a continuation in the morning. Well, it's just not always the case. Nothing about the market. The only thing you can absolutely be sure of is the unexpected. All right, this is Randy Kirk. If you like the morning show, please hit like, subscribe, notify. We do have some interesting program. I'll tell you about that in a few minutes. And then Patreon. Thank you again. Another member joined yesterday. We could use quite a few more by the end of the month if we're going to hit that number. Okay, here we go. So we have four huge factors, all affecting stocks today, tomorrow, and Friday. It's really a lot. The market has to digest a ton. So first of all, we have one of the commenters said yesterday, reminding me, we have end of the month window dressing today and tomorrow. This is the end of August. And while it's not the end of a quarter, it's still the end of the month. And sometimes you'll see a little bit of people adjusting their portfolios a little bit. I would look for that more at the end of the quarter than the end of the month. Then you'll have the PCE tomorrow. This is the one that the Fed says is their most important indication of where inflation is going. We've spent tons of time talking about the PCE over the last couple of weeks, but just as a quick tutorial here this morning, there is the number is 4.1, okay? 4.1 was last month's number. That was the inflation for core PCE year over year, even though the month over month was only 2, which would give you an annualized rate of 2.4. The number is the year over year number. That's what they look at. Now, the year over year number is going to be impacted by what happened the prior month over month. Does that make sense? So if you had a flat month over month, then this year you would have to have a down month in order to have inflation dropping year over year in order to make up for that. If you had a down month compared to the previous month, which in fact we did last year, then you'd be looking for having to have a lot down in order to continue down on the year over year. So anyway, that's what we're faced with in terms of this PCE print later, tomorrow. So what the economists that were polled are saying is they think the core will be up slightly, even though we'll continue to be at about the 2%, the 0.2% range on the month over month, but that the core will actually bump up barely to 4.2%. So my speculation is that if we do hit 4.2%, the market will either be flat to even possibly down. Anything over that will definitely be down. I'm hoping I don't have special data. I mean, yes, I have the data that I look at in terms of trueflation, and trueflation would suggest that the year over year data should be closer to 2.5. So I'm going to go with my previous statement and say the number is going to come in under 4. The year over year number will be under 4. Okay, and if that happens, the market will be very, very happy. And Tesla and all the techs will be very, very happy. All right, so that's happening tomorrow. We've got the Labor Department jobs on Friday. We had the ADP this morning. We'll talk about that in a second. But the labor job expectations for Friday are that it'll be medium. Okay, right in the middle of expectations. But then they'll have the amount of wage increase year over year. That number, we need that. Preferably that number to be under 3%. That's what the Fed would like to see. I think people will be more focused on that than the actual number. All right, and then we have a 3-day weekend. Okay, so people have to finish up Friday anticipating 3 days of possible news over the weekend that could throw everybody into a kilter. 3-day weekends are always, and we're going into September, the worst month of the year for markets. So 3-day weekend, September, so many things to think about. All right. Yesterday, you may have seen it. You may want to go back and look at it. I thought it was a pretty good show. I talked in detail about what happened yesterday. I mean, Tesla had a massive run up, 7%, 7.5% run up yesterday, continued to run up in the after hours. I could timestamp it. I could show you. I showed you exactly what happened yesterday in terms of the numbers that came out, when they came out, how the bond market went down. I mean, the bonds went down. The bonds went up as the yield went down. I could show you exactly when the market responded to all that kind of stuff. And yet I watched headline after headline yesterday explaining why Tesla was up, explaining why the market was up, that were nonsense. And it just made me scratch my head again over why does anybody pay attention to these folks? It's shocking. Okay, well, we know, I know, narrative, the story is key to Tesla, okay? And part of the reason for the demo, for Elon Musk's demo for his famous wild ride last Friday night, was to start concentrating minds on the idea that Tesla has moved away as a company from being an auto company to being an AI company specializing in robotics. That's Elon's new phrase, an AI company specializing in robotics. So the headlines starting up about this, this new $300 million NVIDIA cluster yesterday was another way of driving the point home. But the world needs to see actual performance, not just info about what's under the hood. So that's why Elon did what he did last Friday. He was showing the performance, and people continue to argue about whether that was exceptional, exciting, amazing, breakthrough, all these words I've been using. Of course it was. Duh. It was absolutely beyond belief how good that was. But it did make that one mistake. So you have to live with the headlines that are coming out of that mistake, the headlines that are fabulous, fantastic. They're ridiculous. They're as if it was invented out of pure fiction about near misses and almost ran a red light and stuff. The car moved about a foot. Anyway, so then now that the performance has been shown, it's time to pop the hood. And so yesterday, Sawyer Merritt, he says, the new H100 GPU cluster is 3 times faster than their older A100 GPU cluster. This will enable Tesla to train and improve FSD faster than ever. Yes, of course, it is faster, but it's also more storage. So you need more compute and you need more storage. So you've got that combination, and you've just got not only is it faster, but there's way more compute. Okay. And of course, they're growing Dojo month after month after month. Every month, Dojo gets bigger. So the amount of compute is huge, but Elon does say they are still compute restrained. Now, that was before this cluster came on board. I'm curious, Elon, if you're listening, are we still compute restrained even after, or constrained after this big cluster? Anyway, Elon said that this is kind of remarkable. Talk about under the hood. You remember when we used to pop the hood and point to that. Yeah. Okay. Density is only 3 to 4 per rack normally, but due to power consumption and cooling needs being much higher than normal computers, the H100 density is only about 2 per rack. I'm not sure about how it can be about 2 per rack. Can you have 2.3 per rack, or is it 2 on some racks and 3 on others? I'm not sure how that works. But anyway, that's what he's been talking about in terms of the electricity needs that we're up against. This is why I had Brian Wong on the other day to talk about the electricity needs. Where is the electricity going to come from? This is a big issue, which I will be addressing again, maybe again with Brian. We need a national program. We need a national leader to come on with a clear-cut plan. Now, Elon is that leader, but they're not calling him to Washington on the later this in September. I forget what it was, the 13th, 16th, 18th, something like that. They're not calling him in. They're calling him in to talk about AI, which great. We need to talk about that too. But they should be calling to Washington to come in and lay out a vision for how a distributed system of solar and battery is the way to go in the future. And when I'm talking about the future, I mean this weekend. Okay. All right. So ADP numbers came in 177,000, which was below 177,000 new jobs, way below expectations, way below last month's number, I think, which was like 325, which crushed the market last month. So very, very good news, keeping the markets on track. The bonds were, again, the yields were down this morning. Very, very good news. Construction and manufacturing jobs were up. Very, very good news. GDP, however, was revised downward. Now you say, oh, that's bad news. Well, it's revised downward from 3.5 to 3.2. I'm sorry, 2.5 to 2.2. Or 2.3. Anyway, I should have written that down. Pretty sure that's right. 2.5 to 2.3 or 2.2. But that's not a horrible revision. That's still really good for the economy. And we're right now in that kind of phase where bad news on that kind of a basis would be good news in terms of the Fed's analysis. All right. So again, all good news this morning. Then more good news on Tesla. We had the good China numbers yesterday. We think that would be helping Tesla this morning. We had now European new car registrations jump 15.2 in July. So in general, the automotive industry in Europe is doing well. That should be good news. That's the 12th consecutive month of growth in the auto industry as it recovered from the pandemic stuff. And then electric vehicles in Europe jumped 60.6%. Continuing to rise, buoyed by subsidies in a number of European Union countries. Full EVs accounted for 13.6% of all new car sales in Europe as a whole, and that's up from under 10% in July. So a big increase in July for those numbers. Then, as noted above, I'm expecting a sideways day, barring additional news. That's what we've been saying. So let's take a look at where we are right now. Tesla is still down $4.33. The rest of the Magnificent Seven are mixed. The overall market, the Dow is up strongly, but the NASDAQ is up so-so. Again, showing a little bit of a movement out of one and into another. So we could be looking at a little bit of a out of techs and into the broader Dow, which actually isn't a bad thing, not a horrible thing. Tesla, as I'm standing here, has moved to only down 374. It's been jumping around all morning from as low as down 1 to as high as down 4. So, okay, let's look at the rest of these. Oh, I know the Cathie Wood stocks are also mixed, but mostly in the green. So I think Tesla's going to end up in the green today. I think the market's going to end up in the green, but not by a ton, barring additional news. Let's look at these other numbers real quick. CNBC, I'm sorry, what am I looking here? It's CNBC. I'm trying to find my numbers. Here we go. All right, we've got crypto down 500 to 27.3. We've got the gold ups again. Gold has been going up quite nicely if you follow or care about gold. The oil market is probably up just a little this morning, not quite to 82, probably having to do with the hurricane down in the Gulf. Then we have bonds down again, just barely over 4.1 on the 10-year. That's excellent. And the 2-month and the 2-year are also both down. All right. So again, the news is where it should be, but I think we are having some profit taking, a little bit of a breather. And I'm projecting that Tesla will be in the green. Of course, I'm hoping for good numbers on the PCE tomorrow, which would cause us, hopefully, probably for Tesla and the market to continue doing well. All right, later today, I'm probably going to give an update on how we specifically end the ice age by 2027. This will be an analysis that looks at the current BEV makers, all of the ones that are making any significant numbers, what their first half 2023 sales were, and then extrapolating a reasonable ramp during each of the next 4 years. How many BEVs could these 16 or so companies be producing by 2027? Enough to kill ICE? You know, I think so. All right. Tomorrow, I'll have Brian back. I asked him a bunch of questions about projections going into the future. You want to see that? So hit like hit subscribe, hit notify so you get notified about these things, and then join my Patreon. That's all I got for you today. And it's been great talking to you.